Okay, here's a video for your PowerPoint array lists, for each, and iterators. So if we open that up, it'll look like this. And we're going to go through these PowerPoints here, and I'm going to code up the examples in Eclipse along with us. So the objectives today are to introduce the concept of an array list for maintaining lists of data, demonstrate how to use the methods in the array list for managing list elements, demonstrate how to use for and for each loops to iterate through array list elements, and introduce the concept of iterator and iterable interfaces. So the array list class. It provides a way to keep track of objects in a list. Like string, it has an index with the first element being 0. Like an address book, each entry stores an object reference, not the object itself. So it is referring to the object. It is not storing the object. The way we use this is, here is the syntax for instantiating a new array list. And we must specify the class of object that the array list will contain. So we have an array list of colors here, an array list of photos, an array list of strings. This is an example of generics, which we will get to more in Computer Science 221. Okay, so when we declare an array list, it expects a class name inside the angle brackets. So like a class name like color or string or whatnot. But we have some primitive types like integers, char, boolean, doubles that are not classes, and we use their corresponding wrapper class. So for an integer, it's not going to be an int, it's going to be capital integer. So this would be an array list of integers called numbers. And that's what it'll hold. It'll hold integers. This is an array list of characters called letters, and it will hold characters, so forth. So then we're going to move into how to instantiate it. When we declare that we're going to make an array list, if we don't have it assigned, as we see here, as an array of a new array, right here, all we're going to do is have say that we're declaring that we want to have an array, but we have not identified kind of what it's pointing at. So right now, it's going to give you a null pointer exception if you try to use it. So it'll kind of be blank. It's pointing at null right now. So you'll need to instantiate it. Now, here's the constructor, an array list of elements. And it's going to use E to represent the class name, an array list of class. So E is going to be a generic representation of a class name. So now then, we have it now pointing at some place in memory that's set aside for an array list of colors in this particular example, but it is empty because we've not done anything to this. So we have an array list of colors called rainbow, and it is instantiated to a new array list of colors. So it is now pointing at something, but it is empty. Some of the methods that we have for an array class, array list, is we can add an element. This will put it at the end of the list if you use this method. You can also add an element at a specific index. So you identify the index and the element that you want to add. You can get an element at an index. You can remove an element at an index. You can actually remove an object. And you can set an element at a specific index as well. So we're going to begin coding this up right here. So I'm going to kind of talk through this, and then we'll see how it works in Eclipse. So now we have an array list of colors called rainbow. We've now created a new color object called red, and we're adding it into our array list of rainbows. So at index 0, we will have a new color object, red. And we're going to add another one, and we can say red. This one here, we specifically identified the RGB values that we wanted for that red color object. And this one here, you can also use the dot operator to just say color dot yellow. Now remember, when we just use the add method, it's going to add it to the end of the array list. So it adds it on after that first element. Adding again. Now we're going to say we're going to add it at index 1. We're going to add the color orange. So remember, indexes start off at 0. So now we're going to squeeze in here a new rainbow object, color object right here in our rainbow array at index 1. We can then add a new color. So you don't even necessarily need to declare it as an object. You can just say we're going to add a new color, and this should add it at the end. And then we can have we can get elements from our array. So we can say color third is equal to rainbow.get at index 2. So I'll pull back that third one there. And then we can remove those as well. So let's code that up real quick. Okay, so I just made a simple ArrayList class here. I've just called it examples for the PowerPoint. And I'm going to go in and start typing in what we saw from that example. So right now I'm going to say I'm going to declare I need an array list. And I'm going to say it's a color. And I'm going to call it a rainbow. And now it's pointing at nothing. It's null. And it says that we have some errors here. Well, first we need to get our ArrayList library. For that to work, and we need to get our color library imported as well. Okay, so now we have those two libraries imported. I'm going to say now rainbow is equal to a new array list of colors, color with a capital C, it's a class, and we need to then put in our parameter markings here. Okay, and all right, so we're going to create a new color object, color red is equal to a new color, and it's going to have RGB values of red, green, and blue. And now we have that red object. I'm going to add it to my rainbow array. So I go rainbow dot, and here's my dot operator and all the methods that we have available for the ArrayList class. And I'm going to add, this time I'm going to add, and I'm going to add this red object right there. That red color object. So now then, at the very beginning of my array, an index 0 is a rainbow object. It's a red color object, sorry. I'm going to add another color, so I'm going to go rainbow.add, and I'm going to put in a color, and I can use the color class, and I can say yellow. I'm going to have another one, rainbow.add. I'm going to now use this at the index. I'm going to say at index 1, I'm going to add the element color, not orange maybe. Okay. And now I'm going to add a new one. Add, and this one here is just another object. I'm going to be adding a new color object. And I'm going to do it RGB, so RGB, so it's a green. And then I'm going to say color third, so I'm going to make a color object. I'm going to store it in third, and I'm going to say rainbow.get index 2. And so now I'm going to be pulling that out, and I'm going to be rainbow.remove, and I could say remove that third that we just got. And if you ever want to see what is in your array, you can just do a print line and just check what's in the array. So I could say just what's in my rainbow array. I'm going to check and see what we have there. So I have here, it doesn't give you, it gives you the properties of your color objects. So we should have a red, which is there. And then this would be a yellow. And this would be a green. So we have a red, a yellow. Our third object got removed, so then it shifted this one back up to being our third object. So now then we have that our G green, and I'm just printing that out there. So then that's what it gets when we print those out. Okay, cool. Moving right along, we've gotten through all of those, and I could set now. I forgot. I'm going to set at index 1 color orange. Now I'm going to print it again. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure at index. I'm guessing rainbow set at index 1. I'm not sure if that is orange or not. Maybe that's orange. I'm not sure. Okay. All right, moving right along here, we have more select methods. We can get the size of our array. We can check to see if there's anything in it. It can be empty or full or have something in there. We can check to see if it contains something. And we can also clear all elements in the list. Okay, so now how do we use using loops are going to be very valuable for your arrays, because you can have an array of, say, maybe 2,000 objects or more. And adding 2,000 elements into this array list could be cumbersome, but you could use a for loop that will go through each index and add or do something to that index in advance, using the for loop, advance to the next index, and then do something to that particular element in the array as well. So you can add elements using a for loop, and you can retrieve elements using a for loop as well. So the general structure we have here, we're going to start off with a for loop. We're going to start off at 0, index 0. We're going to go to some identified number, and we're going to do this one at a time, I++. So we're going to advance one at a time. And we can have a new object created. We can add that new object at each of those indexes. So we will have this object 0 placed at every single index from I to N in this array. We can add that new object. So that's a handy thing. So in this particular case, what we're going to have here is we have a variable named numColors, and that's going to be 5. So it's going to start off at index 0 and run to less than 5. So that'll be 5 elements, 0 through 4. We're going to do those one at a time. At each one of these, we're creating a random color, a random RGB, and we're adding that new color to that array list. So each time we go through this, when this is all said and done, we'll have at index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 a new color, some random color in our rainbow array. So it's been added. Simply by doing this for loop, you can go in and add those there. Now, if we had an array list of 2,000 elements, I could just simply say that numColors is 2,000, and we would just do that at that point. So you can see the power of using a for loop when adding things to an array, adding elements to an array. And we can print them out. We can also then go through a for loop and print out each individual element as we go through that. So we start off at 0. We're going to go to the size of our list one at a time, and we're going to get our object and print it so we can see what's in our elements as we have placed them into our array as well. Okay, so here's so we have here a new array of rainbows. We're going to go through this from rainbow.size, so that'll be from 0 to the end of the rainbow array, and we're going to print out all those elements in there. So we're going to assign the value at I to a color object C, and then print off that color object right there. Okay, I want to open up Eclipse and code this out so we can kind of see what we're doing here by adding and going through your array using your for loop. So I'm going to pull up my Eclipse here, and I'm going to start coding this up. Now, I may need to use a different example other than a rainbow because I already have some stuff added to a rainbow array. So I'm going to make a new array list, and it is still color. And I'm going to say it's color. I'm going to say new rainbow 2, new okay, so I have a new rainbow 2 array list, and I'm going to, so I'm going to have a for loop here. Start off at 0. I is less than rainbow 2 dot. And I'm going to go and say size. And then I'm going to say, okay, we're going to do this one at a time. I plus plus. And I'm going to add some elements to my array list as we run through it. So I'm going to say, let's do some random color. So int R is equal to ran.next. Oh, I need a random generator. Let's put that in right here. So I'm going to say ran.next int, and I'm going to put in there 256, so that's 0 through 255. and that's going to create an R. And I'm going to do that for G and B as well. And then I'm going to add those. So I'm going to say and oh, well, it doesn't like to add that. Okay. Oh, well, I need to maybe make a new color object. This shouldn't add an object. So let's do new color, and it's going to be an RGB, and we need to have another parenthesis at the end. Okay, so we're going to add into this rainbow.size. So we have a rainbow array right now, and it's going to go and add quite a few elements in this. I think that might be more than I want to add because it doesn't determine the size I'm seeing here. So the array will just continue to add elements, and because I've not determined the size of that. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say I think I can put the parameter. Okay, I made a little bit of a mistake here. You can't put inside there your parameters how many elements you want to add to that. You just need to do that in your for loop. And when I ran this before, I didn't have any parameters set up as far as size. So it went and kept adding elements, and it never really received any output from them. So what I wanted to do is just to simply say I'm going to put in there maybe 5 elements into my array. So we're going to start at 0, go to index 5, so that's 0 through 4. We're going to create a new color object. Now the way we want to print those off, there's a few different methods on how we can print that. You can do a for loop, or you can also do a for each loop. Each one of those is acceptable as far as how that can work. So let's take an example, a for loop. So I can say for int I starts off at 0 as long as I is less than 5. I could even probably do rainbow 2 dot size. I'm pretty sure that might work. We can also put in there hard code of 5. Then we're going to go I++. And I'm going to say, okay, for each one of those elements, I'm going to create a color object C maybe is equal to get at I. And I'm going to print off C. Okay, so we have our 5 objects here. Say, for instance, I wanted to add more than that. Maybe I wanted to do 500. And I can create that real quick. And now I have 500 color objects that are randomly created. That's the power of a for loop. I can do this. I can make 500,000. No problem at all. I can make 5. And it will just go to the size of that array. So adding elements, this is one syntax. You can also do a for each loop, which is the exact, it produces the same impact or the same effect. I could show you what that looks like here. And I could say, okay, this is a for each loop, for each color, C in rainbow 2, we are going to print out C. So that's a for each loop. Let's see if it does the same thing. Okay, and it prints out our 5. Let's test it to increase our array size. And it does that as well. So either one of those methods is acceptable on how to access the elements inside your array list. Iterators is an object that allows you to process a collection one at a time. We have some methods in the iterator interface called hasNext and next. We have that available in our scanner. So scanner has a hasNext method that returns true if there's more data to be scanned. So while loop here, while scan hasNext int, we're going to add something to that. Sum is going to add up, so we'll add up all those elements inside that array. And so an ArrayList is an iterable, so if a class provides an iterator, then it is considered iterable. Classes that are iterable can use the for each loop, and they must implement the iterable interface. And we're going to be using that with our text statistic project down the road, so you'll get a good use of the iterator and use of that. So that's the wrap up here for ArrayList, for each loops, and iterators. Thank you.